Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now we've got another pair in here today, and that is the Neoholothele incei, or which is commonly known as the Trinidad olive incei. Now this particular one is the gold form. So we have the olive form and we have the gold form. Now both equally as pretty as the other. We just happen to have the gold forms. Now these are a dwarf spider, very, very small. They're a fossorial spider, and as you can see from here, and we'll see in the video shortly, they are really, really fantastic webbers. They do some amazing stuff. Now you would have remembered last year we actually paired this female, and she came out. She was huge. We hadn't seen her for some time, and we were popping food in there, and the food was disappearing, and we weren't really thinking about it too much, to be fair. And then when we put our male in there, that actually enticed her out of her burrow. It's the first time we'd seen her in a long time outside of the burrow. All we really had to go on was the food was disappearing. And when she came out, oh my God, was she huge. She was absolutely ginormous. And yeah, we suddenly realised then, we thought maybe she might just be a little bit overweight. You know, she was a bit on the large side, and probably not in the best shape for breeding. And as it turns out, we never got anything from that pairing. We got a really successful pairing. Everything went beautifully. It really was a fantastic pairing. But yeah, we never got anything out of it. She did eventually molt, we think, because once again, we never saw her molt. So we've been sitting back all this time. It's been months and months and months. And we saw a good amount of webbing come off, and I thought to myself, oh, maybe we've got babies on the way. They might just be coming out, because quite often these guys, a bit like the Balfouri, they do a massive webbing. They all of a sudden, overnight, they create all this lovely webbing. And that's normally a sign that within a few days, we're going to see babies coming out, nymphs. That never happened. So I'm not quite sure what went on there. Maybe she just fancied redecorating or something, I don't know. But she created all the webbing. And then finally, we did actually see her come out, and it was apparent she had actually molted at some point, because she's looking really fresh and lovely. And we thought, right, best we find a male. So we picked up a young male from the BTS, and yeah, let's see what he got up to, shall we? Well, here we are, about to pair our Neoholothele incei, and this is the gold version, the incei gold. We have the incei olive, and this is the gold version. Now these guys come from Trinidad and Venezuela, and as you can see there from the picture, they are heavy webbers. They are actually a fossorial spider, but they really create some amazing webbing. Now here comes our little male. Look at him. What a handsome little fella he is. Beautiful colouring on the gold version of these. Now you would have known, back last year we paired this female, and she was huge compared to her male. She was very, very large. She had a massive abdomen on her, and we think she'd eaten just about everything that could have gone past, and she was a little overweight. So we've cut her right back. Now that pairing that we had was unsuccessful, and she slimmed down, and we've been waiting to try and see a molt from her, but we've never seen one. Now, because of the way these guys live, they're a fossorial spider with heavy webbing on top of the ground. It's not always common to actually see a molt. So we have to rely on other things. So we've got to try and rely on a visual of our female to see what kind of condition she's in. And as you know, many of our spiders, as they start coming up near a molt, they get a little bit duller in colour, their behaviour changes, and all these sort of things. So we can try and work it out. Now, we've seen this girl a few times, and she looks to be very, very bright and vibrant. So we're pretty sure she's actually moulted out. So we're now going to see what happens. We've put this little male in. We also got this male. He came from the BTS as well, from Leah. And yeah, this is a spider that she's reared up, and it's matured into a male. You can see the clubs on the end of the emboli there. He really is a very pretty, strong spider. You can also clearly see the tibial hooks on the front legs. Very pronounced on this species. Look at the size of them. They are huge for such a small spider. Now these guys really don't get very big. I mean, with these, the females, we're looking at a leg span of getting up to between 5 and 7 centimetres. So they're not a very big spider. Very popular spider. They're cheap, they're easy to care for, and they do make for quite an exciting little exhibit. Now, one of the things that's worth mentioning with the Neoholothele incei is that there is a lot of information. Oh, here comes our female. Here she comes. See how she's very tentative. Oh, there goes our male. He's like, hello, I'm here. Oh. She was a little unsure there. She's not quite sure who's come knocking. Oh, there we go. Now she's starting to tap. Here she comes. You see how the change in the attitude, look at that, our male has actually backed off. She's shown a little bit of excitement. There you go, she's tapping and drumming away now. This is what we want to be seeing. Now this drumming is always a really good sign in our females. It shows their receptiveness. We have seen females where they've drummed like this and then literally launched themselves at the male at the first opportunity. So it's very difficult to try and work out what is actually being said, what is going on. But generally speaking, if we see this kind of behaviour from our female, this is normally a good sign. Look at that, she's getting quite forceful with it now. You also see there she has got beautiful colouring. And that webbing, look at it, it is absolutely silky white. There's our male. Look at that, he's taken for the high ground and he's tapping as well. So the vibration that he is sending down through that webbing will be intense. Now the enclosure that we've got these in is a 20 by 20 by 20 Komodo. And I do like these enclosures for this type of spider. Absolutely fantastic. They make a very good exhibit enclosure because you have got unhindered viewing from all sides. They're obviously a top opening enclosure, and they really do lend themselves well to this type of spider. Here he comes. He's slowly working his way back down. You see there that he's shaking and vibrating all the time. Notice how that whole web moves. Just look at that web for a moment. That is just individual strands built up, one on top of the other. Absolutely phenomenal amount of work has gone into creating that web. And it's amazing how quick they can actually produce this. Now introductions are starting to get a little bit better now. It's looking like our male is finally sort of settling down and thinking, yep, this is the lady for me. You notice how when he touches her, she then responds back with that tapping, that drumming. Here we go. Now we're making real proper contact. You can also see now the size difference. Look at the thickness of her legs in comparison to his. And just the sheer volume of her body. She is so much heavier. Still, I say they're a tiny spider. That is in fact a milk bottle lid in front there, the green thing, the water bowl. And that gives you an idea of how big these spiders are. I think the milk bottle lid is around about, must be getting on for nearly 2 inches. And we're getting some real nice contact now. And this is one of the things, it's nice to see our spiders actually spending a bit of time to get to know one another. This is often the dubious time, and we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. Now, as we were starting to say earlier on, one of the conflicting pieces of information with the Neoholothele incei is the fact that many people claim that these spiders can be kept in a communal type situation, like we do our balfouris. Now, I have tried this on 2 occasions now, and it doesn't work. Not in our instance. Now, I know you will see online people will claim that they've actually kept them in a communal situation. I'm not sure that this is entirely true, because to keep something in a communal situation, you need to be able to maintain that group through all the stages of their life cycle. When you've done them from slings right the way through to adults, and then on to being able to pair one another, and then finally, they die through old age, this would then be a successful communal. What we're seeing online is people are getting slings, they're putting them in a communal situation, so they'll get like a tank like this, they'll put 20 slings in there, these slings will slowly but surely grow, and then we might end up seeing, out of, I don't know, say if we had, say, 10 individuals in there, we might then end up with 5 or 6 small juvies. So they're still not mature yet, they're very, very young, but we would have lost a couple along the way. And then eventually, as they mature, the males will end up, they'll pop out first, and they'll start harassing anybody else that's in there. Even as our males mature, our females will probably be of equal size to our mature males, although they may not be mature yet themselves. Now, what then happens is our females that are left in there will predate on anything else that they can get their grip on. So this is not what I would class as a true communal spider. And I think it's been tried so many times now. I think we should take heed and just accept the fact that they are not communal. We're seeing so much information at the moment on social media about different spiders being communal spiders. And in our experience, the only true communal spider that we're seeing in the real sense of the word is the balfouri, the Monocentrophus balfouri. Everything else is only communal up to a point of age and maturity. Now, we're seeing people claiming that pokies, all the different pokies are communal. They most certainly are not. They are not a communal spider. And you will end up losing your beloved spiders by trying it. So I would suggest, if you want a communal, get a balfouri. Now, where this information gets mixed up is because in the wild state, these guys are found living in very close proximity to one another. This does not make them a communal spider. It makes them a tolerant spider, but only when given ample space. So our females will build a territory. We are not giving them the space in our enclosures to build that kind of territory. And so they end up becoming very close neighbours in captivity, and they end up eating one another. In the wild, there was always room for them to live out their lives without females coming into contact with one another. So our males will wander around all of those said females. So you might, for argument's sake, just as a hypothesis, you might find a patch of ground that is, say, I don't know, let's say 30, 40 feet square. And within that patch of ground, we might well have a dozen or more females living out their lives. And the males will float between all of these females. And they will live a nomadic lifestyle once they are mature. And he will literally go along and he will service all of these females as and when he gets the opportunity. And this is why they are classed as a semi-communal spider, because in the wild they will live within relatively close proximity to one another. We cannot replicate that in the captive hobby, and most certainly not as a hobbyist. You know, we tend to keep our spiders in smaller environments because they don't necessarily need the space. One spider on its own does not need that space. Now you can see there he's reaching under there now. This is a frustrating time because it looks there that he's in a perfect position. He can actually inseminate at any time. He's being very, very careful. It's taken a little while for him to get her into that position there. You see she's backing off slightly, which is a little bit, makes him think, what is she up to? We have seen aggression from our females in this particular spider before, so they're not unknown for killing their males. She's got her feet in the water bowl. Now you can see we've got constant movement with these guys. They just haven't stopped. Oh no, hang on. Oh no, no. Lovemaking has got to stop. She needs a drink. What strange behaviour, look at that. She's actually submerged herself in the water bowl halfway through pairing. He's like, hey, what are you doing? What is going on? He was giving her his best moves and everything, and she stopped for a drink. How unusual. Very unusual. Well, it looks like she's back in the game anyway. This might just speed him up a little bit. You can see he can't quite reach. He's almost there. Look, 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 look. Oh, he's almost there. We just need to get a little closer. He is so, so close. He is at arm's length there now. Here we go. Almost there. Now, sometimes I think when they're actually struggling like this, the male, you can see he's literally right on the epigastric furrow there. And I think sometimes the female, I think they manage to hold that epigastric furrow closed. So she's not 100% viable. She's not given herself up. And then all of a sudden he'll make contact. And that's when we see that sort of violent little shake where the males pull the female in. I mean, you can see there that actually, because of the way the epigastric furrow works, it opens up and backwards. And this is why we often see them lifting their abdomen like this. So he is looking at pushing his emboli past the epigastric furrow and then dragging it back towards him into the epigastric furrow. And this is why we see that thrust and that sort of where they bend the female backwards, is because they've actually got their emboli inside and we're getting penetration. As we can see at the moment, he is still looking, but not achieving very much. No, he's, oh, now see, something happened there. Our male is up in the top corner, and it don't appear that we've got an insemination in this particular pairing. Our female has come down. Now she sort of lost it a little bit there. Oh, she's gone for another drink. Now interesting, because these guys have got water all the time, so it's interesting that she's actually stopped for a drink twice now. Our male is up in that top corner, and for whatever reason he lost the nerve and decided today wasn't the day. We will try him again and we will see what happens. You can just see the tub in the top right hand corner there. We've literally just pulled him out, walked him back into his tub. Oh, and our female has gone. She saw my shadow and was gone. We'll try again. Well then, that was pretty epic. You'd have seen there our male was a little jumpy at first. And you see how he bolted up. He made full use of this webbing. This webbing is, I've got to show you this webbing. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, we got a really good view of it in the video, didn't we? But look at it. It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, bearing in mind, if you get a real close-up look on this webbing, this is all made up of individual fine strands. There is millions upon millions upon millions of strands of webbing. And that is what creates this whole thing. Can you just imagine how many times she spun that web? Absolutely fantastic. And look how beautifully white it is. Awesome stuff. I mean, it's just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And you can see the entrance to her burrow there. Lovely solid entrance there. Absolutely fantastic. Now, as we said earlier on, we got this male from the BTS show. It came from Leah of E&L Bindings. Now, they're always at the shows. Check them out. They do some really cool stuff. So she gave us a good deal on this male. She wanted him to go to good use. And so here he is. He's here doing his stuff. Now, as we saw in this video, we're not 100% sure if he actually managed to inseminate her on this occasion. So we will be putting him back in again. He will have another go and we will see what happens. And hopefully he will get a successful insemination. Now, everything looked really, really good on the video. And I think he possibly did, but we're not 100% sure. So that second try will always be of a bonus. And this is what we do in many of our spiders. We try them for a second time, just really to put the odds in our favour, if you like, and hopefully we get that successful pairing. And hopefully now, as we've seen when she came out this time, she was in much better condition than she was in the previous video. So again, this should point to the fact that, you know, it should be a bit more successful this time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. These aren't the most difficult of spiders to breed, so there's no reason why we can't do it here. Now, one of the things that we mentioned in there was the actual aspect of these guys being a communal spider. Now, I've got to admit it, guys, this is a subject that infuriates me a little bit. It does wind me up. These are not, in my opinion, these are not what we would consider a communal spider. They are not like the Monocentrophus balfouri. That, to all intents and purposes, in a captive situation behaves as a communal spider, and they're quite happy to cohabit with one another. It's been proven time and time again. We do it here as well. Now, one of the things is people have been trying to keep the inces in the same way as we keep our balfouris. And unfortunately, despite what you read, I don't believe it actually works, because it's not a full-term project, if you like. So what happens is people get a bunch of youngsters, a bunch of slings. They might have 10, 20 slings. They put them all in an enclosure like you would your balfouri slings. And sure enough, they web it all up and they grow. And they, grow and they get bigger and bigger. And then what happens is as they hit that juvie stage, they now start squabbling over territory. And slowly but surely, you start losing the odd spider. Now, because they're in a communal situation and they're heavy webbers, you don't see these losses straight away. And then it's not until we start getting into the stage where our females are getting on, they're getting to like this sort of size. Our males are getting up to becoming mature. Once we get a mature male in there, he will start pestering them. And then them older females, the bigger females, will start predating on anything around them. And eventually they wipe themselves out. So why I say they are not a true communal spider is because no one, to my knowledge, has kept them from sling right the way through to adults, to them adults actually breeding in that situation and having young themselves. I've not heard of this, and I've tried to research it, and it's not become apparent that that has actually happened. So that says to me that these are not a true communal spider. And I think it's about time we stop trying to do it, because all we're doing is we're killing off these slings by keep trying to do it. Now, in the wild state, they call them a communal spider in the wild state because they have a massive area, and within that area there will be a lot of those spiders there. There will be a lot of them. Now, we get this with many spiders around the world. Look at wolf spiders in America. You might go out in your backyard in America and you can find yourself of a night time with a torch. You'll see eyes all over the place in your lawn where your wolf spiders are tucked down in their little burrows. That does not make them a communal spider. What that makes them is a spider that is happy to coexist within a certain area. So they have their own territories which they protect. Anyone coming into that territory is likely to get eaten. So it is not a communal spider. Now, we're also seeing as well, while we're on the subject of communals, I'm noticing on Facebook and that, an awful lot of people are putting up that pokies are communal spiders. They are not. Stop wasting your money. You know, the only pokies that have been kept successfully in a communal situation, and it's done in Europe quite a lot, is things like Metallicas. This is the one spider you see it a lot with communal situations in Europe, is Metallicas. And what they're doing is they hold their sling Metallicas and they put them in an arboreal enclosure with nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. It's just a glass box with a bit of substrate on the floor. There is no bark, there is nothing. And they put them in there in such numbers that they actually coexist with one another. And then they just feed them and it's a free-for-all. Now, that is not communal living. So the reason they're getting away with that is because them spiders are not able to set up a territory because there is nothing within it. It's an empty box. So they cannot set up a territory in an empty box when there's 30 other people in there with them as well. 30 other spiders. So it is not a communal situation. We must get our heads in the right space. Communal living is totally different to something that is actually kept in a void situation where there is nothing else. So please, there is no true communal pokey. Yeah. I've tried it here with the regalis, and they will coexist to a certain degree. But as they mature, those bigger females will wipe out anything else around them, and you will lose them. So if you're buying your pokies with the idea of doing a communal, be prepared for some losses because it's coming. You will lose them. Right. Back to our inces. Fingers crossed, this communal thing is such a big subject. Lots and lots to be had with that. Maybe we might have to have a sit down and a chat about communals just in general, because it's such a big subject. Right then, back to our inces, our incei golds, the lovely little dwarf spider. Fingers crossed, it all went well and we get something. We will try our male again. He's going to get a second opportunity, and yeah, let's see what happens. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. My little rant is over with, and we are back to civilization. Right then, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spiders. And I will see you soon, guys.